Hello my friends! Today we will take a look at Nikon's first full-frame mirrorless camera, the Z6. When it was introduced back in August 2018, together with the Z7, it drew a lot of attention and it got, let's say, mixed feedback. In this video, we will take a look at what was Nikon able to get right on the first attempt and what could be improved. As always, we will take a look at the image quality, including the bending issues, at the autofocus, handling, video capabilities, and other features to find out whether the Z6 is the right camera for you. Of course, it is direct competitor of Sony a7 Mark III, so we will take a look at how these two compare in separate video. In terms of the build quality, Z6 is definitely one of the best cameras that I have tested. It feels very solid, the materials are very high quality, and I like that most of the front part is covered with high quality textured rubber. Buttons also provide nice feedback. All of the doors have rubber gaskets, since it is weather sealed, and I wouldn't hesitate to use it in rough conditions. Overall, I have no complaints about the build quality. The size is similar to a7 Mark III, so it is very compact for a full-frame camera, and it weighs 675 grams. Z6 uses 24.5 megapixel backside illuminated full-frame sensor, which is the main difference in comparison with Z6, which uses 45.7 megapixel sensor. Sharpness is excellent, and 25 megapixels is in my opinion still great resolution for all-round use. Dynamic range in good light and lower ISO values is very impressive. The amount of color and detail that you can extract from RAWs is great, so it is very suitable for HDR scenes, such as landscapes with bright sky. Let's take a look at how it performs in low light and at higher ISO. Like every other camera, I have tested the Z6 on my dynamic range torture scene. In this specific scene, it has some issues caused by bending. The amount of noise is actually very good, but right from ISO 3200 you can see some unpleasant color shift and color patterns. At ISO 6400 it gets worse, and at ISO 12800 it really doesn't look very well. Even in the daylight at ISO 2500 it recovers a lot of details in highlights and shadows, but the bending in shadows is visible. In other scenes like this one it has no problems and it performs very well up to ISO 12800. If you are an event shooter who might be shooting in challenging conditions under LED lights, it might be an issue. In most scenes, it won't be a problem. The color science is very good though, and in my opinion, it provides some of the best colors out of all cameras that I've tested. Pictures look very natural, I especially like the green color. The skin tones are also natural, and I think that Nikon color science is at the moment one of the best on the market, and it just shoots beautiful pictures in good light. I also have to mention the new Z-mount with large 55mm diameter, which should allow Nikon to make lenses below f/0.95. f1.4 is more than bright enough for me personally, so it is not a big deal for me, but if you would like f/0.95, you can already get 58mm f/0.95 knocked manual focus lens. Regarding the handling, I really like the grip on Z6, it is well shaped and the balance is very good with something like 24 to 70mm f4 kit lens. Regarding the controls, those are also really good. You have front and rear exposure dial, but unfortunately dial on 4-way pad is missing. Video recording, ISO and exposure compensation buttons are located around the shutter, but these are actually pretty easy to reach. The AF on button is too far on the right side in my opinion, and I have to twist my button to reach it, but I got used to that pretty quickly. Other buttons on the camera are pretty well positioned, I got used to those as well. There is also joystick, which is a must-have for me, and a switch for manual movie controls. There are also two buttons on the front camera, and these are easy to reach, but also pretty easy to hit accidentally. Mode dial has a lock. It is very simple with essential modes and 3 user-defined modes. On the top of the camera you have also OLED status screen, which looks great, the resolution is good, and it is pretty useful for checking the settings, and I actually use it from time to time. Z6 uses 273-point autofocus system with both on-sensor phase detection points and contrast points. For something like landscapes, street photography, or portrait shooting sessions, it works well. Auto area mode is actually pretty good at choosing what to focus at in less challenging situations. Continuous tracking is reasonably good, although certainly not perfect. It has lock-on mode, which is very easy to activate. You will get decent keeper rate, but some other mirrorless cameras will be more suitable for tracking fast-moving subjects. There are no speed and tracking settings for stills, which I don't mind, since I prefer one mode that just works. In video, the autofocus is very smooth and very accurate, but also a bit slow. You can set both tracking and autofocus speed in video on Z6, but even in +5 setting, I found it to be quite slow. In the low light, it also hunts a lot. Again, for easier situations, it is more than good enough, and it looks very cinematic and good light thanks to that smoothness, and tracking performance is actually reasonable as well. Face tracking mode is available and it works pretty well, although again, there are some mirrorless cameras with faster face tracking. Eye autofocus is unfortunately not available. Z6 uses 3.2-inch display with 2.1 million dots, and it is the best screen that I've ever used. Sharpness is excellent, it is very bright, and the colors are very accurate as well. Touch functionality is very well implemented, and it is very responsive, just like modern smartphone. It is also tiltable, which is very useful for shooting at low angles. Overall, big thumbs up for the display, this is how it should be in 2019. The viewfinder is excellent as well, it has 0.8 times magnification, so it is very large. The resolution is 3.69 million dots, so it is very sharp, brightness and colors are excellent as well, so just like the scene, it is joy to use, and it is the second best electronic viewfinder that I have ever tested after Panasonic G9. Nikon Z6 has in-body image stabilization, which is great. In my opinion, it is almost a must-have for competitive all-round mirrorless camera in 2019. It is rated for 5 stops, and it indeed makes a big difference. When shooting stills, I had no problem shooting half-second exposures at 28mm or even 1 full second. It makes a big difference while shooting handheld video as well, of course. It is more than good enough for holding the camera still up to about 50mm focal length, and it can also smooth out walking a bit. It is not as effective as on the best Micro Four Thirds cameras, but overall it helped me a lot while using 24 to 70mm f4 without optical image stabilization, so thumbs up for the in-body image stabilization. Z6 also has very effective electronic stabilization, which is very useful for holding the camera still. Just like Fujifilm, Nikon is now very serious about the video, so Z6 shoots 4K Ultra HD video up to 30 frames per second using the Hall sensor, so it shoots 6K video and it downsamples that to 4K, which is in my opinion a requirement for modern all-round video camera. Video looks great, the sharpness and amount of details is actually one of the best that I have tested so far. As I have said, Nikon has great color science, which also contributes to that. It can also shoot 10-bit with external recorder and N-Log profile, which is Nikon's new flat log profile, but I unfortunately wasn't able to test that, hopefully I will do that in future. Internally it shoots 8-bit video, but you can choose MOV files, which are more suitable for editing. There is also flat picture style, which captures a lot of dynamic range, and it gives you good flexibility for color grading. It can shoot up to 120 frames per second Full HD video, and I'm also impressed by 1080p video from Z6. Rolling shutter is fortunately under control, there is some, but it won't ruin your footage, and it can be completely fixed using rolling shutter repair in Premiere Pro. Overall, Z6 is not as advanced video camera as the GH5S or Fuji X-T3, but the video quality is outstanding and it is one of the best mirrorless cameras for video on the market. Regarding the user interface, it is pretty good in my opinion. Importantly, it has really good quick menu, which can be controlled using the touchscreen, and you can customize it as you want. I just don't like that you always have to press OK button to change settings. Main menu has specific logic, but after some time it is possible to get used to it. There is also a ton of options, which makes it a bit cluttered. You can use touchscreen in main menu, which is great, but it is not really optimized for that since the items are pretty small. I also like that you have separate settings for stills and video, and also that you can change autofocus modes and areas by holding function button and turning command dial. One thing that needs to be addressed is that it only has one port for XQD card. These are fast and rugged, but also very big and very expensive, so for me it is pure downside, and I wish it had 2 slots for UHS-2 SD cards, but it is not a deal breaker for me. Port selection is good though. There is USB-C, which can be used to charge the battery, mini HDMI port for remote control, mic input jack, and headphone output jack, so nothing is missing here. Battery life is about average. It is rated only for 310 shots. You can get more than that, but it really doesn't last very long, especially when you are shooting 4K video, so I recommend getting at least 2 spare batteries. Z6 can shoot 12 frames per second with mechanical shutter, but that is with 12-bit RAW, and if you want automatic exposure and continuous autofocus, which you probably want, it drops to 5.5 frames per second, which is pretty slow in comparison with competition. Buffer holds 37 RAWs. Regarding the lens selection, I have tested Z6 with Nikon Z24-70mm f4 lens, which is the only native zoom lens available for Z6 and Z7. I was actually pleasantly surprised by this lens, and I will try to make a separate review. Other than that, there are 35mm and 50mm f1.8 primes available at the moment. 58mm f0.95 Noct will be coming next year, so native lens selection is very limited at the moment. Fortunately, you can use FTZ adapter to mount f-mount lenses on Z6, which dramatically increases your options, but you will lose some in-body image stabilization capabilities. To sum up, I have to say that my overall impressions of the Z6 are positive. It is definitely not perfect, but I actually do recommend it, unless the bending issue is a problem for you or you need the best autofocus performance available. It shoots beautiful stills and video. User experience is very good thanks to the controls, build quality, electronic viewfinder and display. So overall, it is a solid first step into mirrorless market for Nikon, and I am looking forward to more Z cameras. So that's it for this video, thank you for watching. I hope that you liked this video and that you found it to be useful. Stay tuned for more videos and maybe consider subscribing if you don't want to miss my future content. I appreciate your feedback in form of thumbs up or thumbs down. If you would like to ask anything or share your opinion, please do so in the comment section, and see you next time.